Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDM44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I was listening to Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, as I always do in the mornings, getting my daily laughter. And this morning, the conversation was about LeBron James not speaking to the media or explaining to everyone, what his choice was, and not speaking to the media after the 37-point blowout against the Denver Nuggets in Denver. And, Shay's point of view was you need to speak to the media. This is what you need to say. And he gave him a spiel. And, but you don't be silent. And then I listened to only a portion of what Skip's point of view was before turning on the camera here. But Skip was basically saying, Frank Vogel had to take the shots. He has to take the fire, more or less, for playing poorly. You should stand before the media and also do the same. But my thing is a little different because I listened to what LeBron James' response was, what he was saying as well in regards to why he didn't. And he was saying that, in that moment he felt like, sometimes when he speaks he's all over the place. He said, and he didn't think that speaking was the right decision at that time. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you think you can do more damage with your mouth than help, and the situation's already kind of fragile, shaky, you got a lot of superstar egos to manage. It's not a regular basketball team. And you're LeBron, so obviously everything you say is going to be picked apart from syllable to syllable. Sometimes it is good to discern whether or not it's best to speak. And I understand those who talk about the media's sports media's responsibility is to promote the league. If the players don't speak to the media, how best can they do that? That's bullshit. I'm just gonna be honest. That's bullshit, y'all. Your job may be to promote the sport, but you guys abuse that a lot. And there's a give and take to that. What you guys give to these players, a lot of the times, is stress, unnecessary drama, painting narratives about their lives and who they are, when those things may not necessarily be the case. Talking bad about them on the court, which may be within the confines of what's right, but doesn't necessarily feel good to have to listen to. You know what I mean? And being held accountable by strangers who can't do what it is that you do. I can't imagine it feels too good, right? So if a media member, or rather if an athlete decides not to speak to a media member, I'm not offended by that as a fan. In fact, this fan here doesn't put a whole lot of stock into what people say after the game. I will kind of watch some press conferences. As a youngster, I watch a lot of press conferences, particularly the ones after the finals and stuff like that. After playoff games, that's when it really kicks in. You really want to know what people are thinking. But after a regular season game, a guy is just ready to go home, do whatever he's doing on a Tuesday. He just got to playing a game on a Wednesday night. He doesn't care nothing about talking to you guys. He's ready to get back to the rest of his week. So because I understand that it's the middle of the regular season, I don't put a whole lot of stock into guys talking to you guys. I think the media paints the picture to us, the consumer, that they are more necessary than they are. And guys like Kyrie Irving has clearly pointed out why they aren't as important as they thought they were or believe themselves to be. Quite honestly, all a guy has to do is turn on the camera just like I'm doing and talk directly to his fan base. That's all he has to do. Kyrie showed us that. Several other guys have showed us that. You got athletes who are starting their own podcast, their own stuff. JJ Redick, people like, we don't need to hear from the middleman. We don't. You don't even need to hear from anybody who's going to just sensationalize narratives. Now, if you are entertained by that, like I am, then maybe you'll turn it on just to be entertained. But the fact of the matter is, how necessary it is not what it used to be. So this whole talk of they must talk to us in press conferences or they're not doing their job, that's a lie. It may be within their contracts, but how necessary is it to do in 2022? It's not as. That's an archaic way of doing things. When there was no other way to communicate but through the idiot box. That's not what it is anymore. So I'm tired of that narrative. I'm tired of the guilt trip that you guys place on athletes to speak to you when you really don't have anything but dumb questions to ask them a lot of the time. Questions that are just going to sensationalize and basically make someone like myself go, oh my God. Something that's going to make them say something that we can talk about later on, which is just, that's bad energy stirring. That's all it is. If we want to be real about it, it's a bad practice that we tend to think is normal that shouldn't probably be normal. We talk about mental health, we talk about bullying, and then we look and see what these sports media guys do on a daily basis, which is that very thing to these athletes. So if a guy like LeBron James doesn't want to talk to you, good. I don't look at it as him not wanting to talk to me. And that's what you want me to think it is. That's not what it is. He don't want to talk to you. He doesn't mind talking to the public. He just don't want to talk to you. And I don't blame him. There are a lot of good media members. There's a lot of good people out there asking good questions. But y'all don't make up the majority. Never have. We know who they let in the press rooms. It's the people who are going to ask the dumb questions that are going to make people go, I'm over it. Athletes over it. And that's just one aspect of the conversation. The other aspect is this. LeBron James discerned that it was probably not best for him to open his mouth. He should be applauded for that. He particularly has said some things in the past, going out on limbs and jumping out, saying things that he shouldn't say, and his mouth has gotten him and others in trouble in some cases. Him discerning not to speak, I think, is growth. Growth. For a guy who's made some mistakes lately, he's saying, yo, it's time to do that. I don't think that's a bad thing. He shouldn't be down for that. You're not teaching LeBron James about marketing the NBA through the media. I'm sorry. That's not a point you need to make to that particular player. So don't go off saying, oh, he's lost sight of what his responsibility is because he didn't speak to you guys one time in 19 years. We're not doing that. You could push that narrative off on guys who don't speak to you regularly, like maybe a Kyrie. If you want to insult his intelligence that way, you might be able to get away with it a little bit. But no, you're not going to be able to do that with Bron. He's been promoting this league better than you guys the entire time he's been in it. Let's just be honest about that. So that's one other aspect of the conversation. And another is silence can be a message sent. Be a message sent to the team, to the ownership, to GM, to his own people, to whomever, to the fans. This ain't the time to speak. My silence is going to speak more than my words in this case. Y'all know we should have been better out there. I know we should have been better out there. And this ain't the time for talking. That is a message in and of itself. And it seemed like the team heard it because they came out and played better the next game. Albeit against a Utah Jazz team that couldn't throw a rock in the ocean. But nevertheless, you take advantage of the opportunities given. And that's what we did. We won that game. So the silence worked. So that's what I wanted to say. Those are my 3 points. Bron don't need to talk to you. We don't need to hear from him talk to you in order for us to know about the NBA. Those are lies. Stop that bullcrap. And, of course, Bron's growing, man. Let him grow. Let him grow. If the man want to shut up, let him shut up. If he felt like it wasn't best for him to speak in that moment, maybe what would have came out of his mouth wouldn't have been as concise and as perfectly articulated as Shannon's spiel. Because, yes, that's what LeBron would have said if he would have been in the mindset to speak. But instead, he was telling you that he wouldn't have been able to get up there and say that stuff, Shannon. That wouldn't have been what came out of his mouth, fam. He would have got up there and said something he would have regretted, and he knew that before opening his mouth, so he didn't. That's a good thing. Don't get up and tell me, yo, you need to get up there and speak, because he's telling you that part of his brain that would do that spiel wouldn't have been what would have been an activity at that moment. So let it be. Let it be. Turn that attention to another player somewhere else and do it a different way. Because after a 37-point loss, the biggest star in the league didn't want to speak, and it seemed like he had a bunch of good reasons for not doing so. And I support all of them. Let it go, y'all. That wasn't a big deal. He came back and talked to y'all the very next day and told you everything that he would have wanted to say after the Denver game. Bron is not running from y'all. Let it go. BDF 44, thank y'all for watching. I'm out.